Hey collectors, welcome to Star Wars Collected. I'm Jonathan. If you're new here, I hope you consider sticking around and subscribing. But if you've been here before, I want you to hit that like button like your knee hitting the ground to pay respects to your queen. Because what I have for you guys today is not the sideshow, not the hot toys, but the play toys, Queen Amidala from the Phantom Menace. Let's check it out. All right collectors, well if you're anything like me, I've never even heard of play toys before. That being said, I have thought that for a very long time, in general, we do not have nearly enough Padme collectibles out there in the zeitgeist, out in the world. There have been a few from Sideshow here and there. Hot Toys just did a version from Attack of the Clones, which looks really nice. But in general, we're talking about the mother of Luke and Leia. We're talking about the wife of Anakin. And in her own right is an amazing character. It gets fleshed out a lot in the Clone Wars, of course, originally played by Natalie Portman. And it's just kind of shocking to me that we don't have more stuff that's Padme. And when I think back to being a kid and the Phantom Menace coming out, yeah, Darth Maul was obviously like a huge piece of the imagery, but Padme, or Queen Amidala, in that red dress was just so amazing, so iconic. It has to be one of the most iconic Star Wars costumes out there ever. And it's just shocked me for years that we haven't had a Queen Amidala in that throne room red dress collectible come out from Sideshow, from Hot Toys. You know, you could do it in the 1/6 scale, of course. I know they love to add little battery stuff, not my favorite thing, but you know, it has little lights in the base of the dress. How cool would that be? In the original movie, they had to run that off of a car battery, which is really funny. If you had a quarter scale statue, a premium format statue, that you could plug in, and that would have the lights on it too. It just seems like such a huge miss. Now, there are a few out there. There's a piece from Applause, which is really old, but we don't really count that. There is a really high-end porcelain maker that makes a Queen Amidala, and I have seen like one or two other things randomly crossed on eBay, one of which was really a mystery. I don't even know who made it, but otherwise, Sideshow and Hot Toys hasn't really done much with this costume. And this company called Play Toy, which I had never even heard of before this collectible came out, decided to do one of their own. Now, Play Toy is unlicensed. It's not an official Lucasfilm thing. They don't title it Queen Amidala or anything like that, but it is sort of a knockoff from China. So this is kind of my first one, I think, that's like this. But if there is a demand for something and the licensed people are not fulfilling that demand, then the fan community is going to try to fill that void with something else, and a company like Play Toy seems to be filling that void right now. So let's go ahead and check out this box here. It says Play Toy here at the bottom. We have some kind of planet with a lot of lights on it. Got another planet back here with a bunch of starship shadows silhouette. There's some sort of larger cruiser here. On the side here, you have another TIE fighter, another one here. And again, you kind of have that same imagery over here again with TIE fighter. So this has number P018. So again, I'm not that familiar with these people. I have seen some other things in the past where it's been promised looking one way and then comes in, and we're gonna find out for ourselves how this looks. So the box actually overall is pretty nice. It's nice and slim, which I like. A little bit of foam here on top, and we're diving in a little bit deeper here. Now I should say, as I look at it, I am remembering that like Hasbro made some back in the day that were very much, you know, kind of in the almost the Barbie type look. But this is hopefully kind of a step above what the Hasbro offered. This was available for pre-order for quite some time, but of course it being unlicensed, it was only available through retailers that I personally was not familiar with. I have heard some other people getting it from them before and having some success, but I had some hesitations. I have been burned before by some pre-orders, especially ones that were coming from China that just never showed up. So I was a little hesitant on this, and I waited until there was a vendor on eBay that was claiming that they had it in stock. On eBay right now, this is ranging from about $150 to $200, something like that. And I'm sure that that price will fluctuate a decent amount as it sort of gets out in the zeitgeist, and you know, people kind of decide whether it's a worthwhile piece or not. So right off the bat, one thing I should note is that this box is extremely minimal. There is just a little bag over her head. There was this foam piece on top. You have an outline here, a little piece that was covering it. That's it. There is no stand. There is no swappable hands. There is no throne for her to sit on. It is purely just a figure. For the money, comparing that to something like a Sideshow or Hot Toy piece, then that's pretty minimal for what they normally give you. But I will say that I do kind of wish that Sideshow and Hot Toy would sort of offer a basic figure and charge us $50 less for the basic figure, and sort of just give us the main thing with 1 or 2 main accessories, a stand, something like that. And it's just not one that visits them again and puts on, you know, all the different hands and all that stuff. So I kind of appreciate that, although for the money, I think maybe it should have come with a little bit more. But you might find this piece available elsewhere for a lower price that maybe makes a little bit more sense. So let's go ahead and check her out here. So we have the iconic throne room red dress here. These pieces down here are slightly translucent, which is nice because in the movies, like I said, that lights up. It would have been cool, of course, to see a feature that really lit up. I would say that the bottom should probably be maybe slightly wider. When I think about her in that throne room scene, this piece sort of billows out a little bit more. So it maybe is just cut a little bit too tight, but maybe slightly too long. But you know, I think if I were to source a sort of generic stand and have her propped up just a little bit higher like this, that would probably look pretty okay. So I'm kind of okay with that. We've got some detailing here on the front, you know, lots of gilding. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this costume in person from a cosplayer. It is super complex, one of the more difficult ones to do. I'm not that familiar as far as knowing this costume forward and backwards. I'm noticing that there's a lot of pieces here put together. I don't know if that's true to the original costume or not. You have sort of a double sleeve system here. She has an internal sleeve, which is cut a little bit closer to the skin. It actually appears to be somewhat of a glove because it just sort of goes up to her elbow here. Articulates both up and down and swivels from side to side, so that's kind of nice. And her hand actually looks pretty good. Not a lot of paint difference. It looks like it's mostly molded. I'm seeing just like the slightest tinge of peach applied to some of the fingertips. The hand, of course, is mostly covered. You have some sort of faux fur here on the end of both that and sort of the larger sleeve. As you come around the back here, you have a little faux fur trim going around. And then this piece up here has been embroidered. Not a really tight embroidering, but an embroidering nonetheless, and looks pretty good, quite honestly. This part here has just been applied as some sort of transfer. It's not embroidered, it is some kind of like iron-on type thing, and it is tacked in some way down here at the base to kind of keep that nice and flat. This appears to also be tacked to this piece as well. So the collar overall sits nice and wide. I like the shoulder stance to this. Let's move up to the face. I think the face actually looks really good. There's a little bit of gloss on the eyes to give it a little bit of life. Her skin is white, but like you can tell that there's a human underneath it. I've got these bright lights on it, and it's actually just giving just a little bit of translucency to it, kind of like how skin itself is actually, you know, kind of partially see-through. It's one of the things that makes early like 90s and late 90s CGI not look so good, as everything was a little too flat. You can see that light is coming in and kind of scattering, and that's giving her a little bit more of a lifelike look to it. When I think of that Queen Amidala makeup, I think of it really being kind of pure white, almost geisha-like. But this actually I think looks better because it makes her look a little bit more alive. You have that famous lipstick treatment, the 2 dots on the cheeks. Like I said, the eyes have a little bit of gloss to them, giving just a little bit of life. The headdress here on the side, this has all been stamped in, so that there's little bumps and ridges and all kinds of things going through here, and I think that looks really good. And it comes up here and you got a little peak on here. On the back here, we have a little bit of doll hair. I would say that I would prefer if this top piece was also done with this, because I would say that that's probably the one place where I feel like it's falling a little flat as soon as I pull it out of the box. This piece, which I'm sure is a very difficult piece, I know I've seen cosplayers do it. It's hard to keep the hair sort of tight around something. There is a slight molding line going across here. It is slight though, it is really not a huge deal, but it would be nice that if this part here had been wrapped in the same kind of hair, that would have given us a little bit more of an authentic look. That would really kind of elevate this piece overall. I'm sure that was just sort of cost prohibitive to put it there. Not to get too graphic here, but we are going to take a peek what's going on here. We have little boots, little red boots on here. I have no idea what Padme's boots look like in that part. And then the knees have some articulation. There's some articulation in the ankles. So this isn't a you know, super stiff doll Barbie type piece that they've put it on. At least source something somewhat decent. At the risk of fully molesting her here, she does sort of have like a little bit of a cushy waist, or there's some sort of suit underneath here, something around her waist that is sort of giving her a little bit of softness. Natalie Portman, of course, was very young, very slim, actually rather short. So this piece kind of feels a little tall for a 14-year-old Natalie Portman in that movie, I would say. This seems more like a normal full-size adult to me. I would guess that it is probably about 12-inch tall figure. So she might need to sort of be displayed alone or something of that nature, but I just think this is really nice to have this piece finally. I feel like this has been sort of a missing piece in my collection. I would love to see a premium format version of this done, whether it be her standing, like I said, you could light it up. There's that iconic shot of her kind of looking out the window, that or the piece with the throne, just to really like hammer home this Queen Amidala part of the Padme character that I just don't feel like we've gotten all that many collectibles about. All right, collectors, well, there you have it. This is the Play Toy Queen Amidala. This is 1/6 scale. She's roughly about 12 inches tall, probably a little tall for that character. Doesn't come with a stand, so she's a little topsy-turvy here, but you can just sort of get a generic stand, whether it be an extra one that you might have from a sideshow figure, or just pick up another piece. You know, anything's gonna work. I'm probably gonna get something that elevates her just a little bit up, so that way the dress will drape a little bit more naturally. Overall, I think it's pretty good. The price, you know, that 150 to 200, I think it's closer in value to maybe that 150 area, because you are sort of talking about Hot Toys sideshow money, but I don't think it quite hits that point. I realize this dress is hard to put together. I do think the face application, stuff like that, is good here. We're definitely talking a cut above Barbie, a cut above Hasbro or something like that. You know, as much as it might make some people uncomfortable to buy something that isn't licensed, our licensors are just sort of falling down on this figure. We haven't gotten that great piece from Sideshow or Hot Toys or Iron Studios or anybody like that who has the license to bring us a figure like this, and I think there's a lot of demand for this. I don't think anything says Queen Amidala more than this. If you're looking to pick up your own, like I said, I got mine off of eBay, but they're also available in a couple different stores online. I'm just not that familiar with buying them. I know I have some protections as a buyer through eBay, which is why I might not purchase through there, but you might have a dealer that you're more familiar with that's online that you might be able to secure this figure through. Guys, if you like things like Hot Toys Sideshow, things of that nature, if you like helmets, 1-to-1 scale props, if you like NYC ships, I'm looking at 2 boxes from NYC here. I've got a handful of helmets here on the ground. If you like that kind of stuff, then you're in the right spot. Make sure you subscribe so you guys don't miss it. Also, if you're not already, make sure you're following us on Instagram. It's a place where you and I can interact a little bit more directly. I always try to share great deals when I find them, and just in general, talk about Star Wars on there with me. So guys, that's it. I'll see you in the next one.